Hello and welcome in this new video where we will basically create some vertical ropes. Okay, so this is where we stopped last time, and what do I mean by vertical ropes? Where basically they are the ropes that are supposed to hold everything together and go something just like you're seeing right now. Alright, so let's start doing that. So this is our geometry node tree as we left it in the previous video. Hit N to hide the sidebar and let's start working. So as I mentioned, we want basically a rope that will go something like you're seeing right now. So how can we create that? Well, let's think of the shape of this rope. What does it look like? Well, it looks like a line, so probably we can start by adding a curve line. So go Shift A and let's add a curve line. It is this bad boy right here, and we cannot see right now this curved line because we need to connect it to the rest of our geometry node. So let's hit Control Spacebar to maximize everything, Alt with the right mouse button, and let's connect it to the last join geometry, which is right here. And probably right now you will have this line going through your node tree, so hit Shift to create a rerouting node and hitting the right mouse button. We created a rerouting node. Let's select it, J to move it, and let's put it somewhere right here just for now so that basically we can have a cleaner node tree. Control Spacebar again, and let's start working. Where's the line? It should be in the center, and here it is. This is the line we need. So we're going to transform this line to become a rope. And to do this, we need to add some thickness to it. We already talked about that 1,000,000 times. So let's go Shift A and let's add curve to mesh. Where is curve to mesh? Curve to mesh. Yep, let's put it here. If you find that one of your nodes joined the label from before, just hit Alt P and you will be able to remove it from the label. And let's maybe just drag them a little bit down. Curve to mesh. And for the profile of this, we need a circle. So let's go curve circle, which will basically be the profile of this rope. So let's just connect it to the profile curve. Right now it is super huge. First of all, I'm going to drop the resolution down to something like 4. And for the radius of this bad boy, actually we did create a group called rope radius. So let's just add it and connect it to the radius, and you will have something looking like this, which when comparing to the rest of the ropes, basically this rope, oh god, okay. So basically this rope right here will have a diameter of 0.04 because this is the value we did input right here. And same thing actually for all of these ropes that are on the side. They are also 0.04 in terms of radius. But I feel like probably the vertical ropes should be slightly smaller. So that's why I'm actually going to divide this by 2 by going Shift A, and let's look for math. Let's put it here and change the operation from add to divide, and let's divide it by 2. And this will give us this smaller rope. Let's just stack them like you're seeing right now. And basically this B will be our main rope, or our main vertical rope. So this is the first part. Now we will move to the second part, which is basically to tell Blender to put all of these vertical ropes basically in their position. And to do this, we will use the same exact technique we used before. So here's how we will do it. If you remember, every curve is basically formed by different points. So we need to tell Blender, hey Blender, add this vertical rope everywhere there is a point. It is that easy. So let's just do that. So what is the node that will allow us to do such thing? It is a node called instance on points, which is this one, on points. Let's put it here, and we need to change this, as you remember, to instance because we want to put the instance, which is the vertical ropes, on the points. And the question right now, where will we get our points data from? Well, let's think about it in a logical way. Basically, we want every piece of vertical ropes to connect with a piece of wood, just like you're seeing right now. And that's basically what we will use. We need to use the data that tells Blender where to put the pieces of wood. And where do we get these information from? Well, simply from the wood label. So after this curve to points, which is basically responsible on telling Blender which points to put the pieces of woods on, it should also tell Blender where to put the ropes also. So let's take it here and let's plug it to points. And as you can see, basically every piece of rope right now, or actually every piece of wood, will have a rope on it. And right now it is as easy as just basically doing some transformation to tell Blender where to put them. So let's start doing that. And don't worry about this ugly line going right here. We will fix that later. So as I mentioned, this is not in the right position, so we need to change its position. So to do this, what is the node that will allow us to transform everything? It is basically the transform node. So let's add a transform node. Let's put it here, Alt P if you want to remove it from a certain label. And we need to change a couple of settings right here, which is basically the translation on the y-axis. Basically, we want Blender to know where to put everything. So let's put the x0, and basically we need the y to control the y, because the y-axis should also be controlled from the factor of the width. What I mean by that is that when I change, for example, the width, also these vertical ropes should basically move on the y-axis. So this is also a procedural system that we need to build, and it is actually not that complicated if you just focus a little bit. So what is the thing that should control the y? It is the width. So we need to connect the translation to the width, which should be somewhere around here. Yep, we're going to connect this to the width. And actually, instead of doing that, what about we just connect it to here, and basically later on we can create a rerouting node, shift to create a rerouting node, hitting the right mouse button also, J, and let's move it down just like you're seeing right now. So the translation right now, basically whenever we change the width, as you can see, we will also change the location of all of these different elements. But Blender right now is applying all of that to all the different axes all at once. We only want that to happen on only one axis, which is the y-axis. That's why we're going to add a combine XYZ. Let's add a combine XYZ, and basically we want this to only be applied on the y-axis. And as you can see, basically right now they are in the right position, and whenever I change the width, they will always adapt to that. So let's set this to 5, and we need basically to do the same thing but from the other side. So let's just I think we can duplicate this transform node. So hit Shift D to duplicate it, and let's also connect it to instance that is coming out of here, and we need to join it from the result before. So let's add a join geometry node, join geometry. Let's put it here and connect this also to this one. And technically right now we will have two ropes, one on this side and the other on the other side. And now will come the trickiest thing, which is that also we need to tell Blender that also these ones should also follow the position of this side. So we're going to do the exact same thing basically by selecting this, and let's do Control Shift D, which will basically duplicate and keeping this link. Let's connect this to the translation. Right now, it will always follow the position of these lines that are on the left, but we want to tell Blender to basically adapt to the right side, basically to adapt to this side right here. And to do this, we need to invert the operation by multiplying it by -1. I already explained that before, but just to refresh your memories, for the ones that are, for example, on the left, we're telling Blender, hey, for example, move them by 5. At the same time, we want to tell Blender that, hey, for the other ones that are supposed to be on this side, move them by -5. And what is the operation that can transform 5 to a -5? It is by multiplying it by -1. It is that easy. So before this combine XYZ, we're going to go Shift A and let's add a math node, and let's change the operation from add to multiply. And we need to multiply it by -1. Perfect. And as you can see, basically they are right now right here. So right now our vertical ropes are adapted to the width. Whenever I change the width, the vertical ropes will change their position. They are following the width. Right now I also need them to follow the height. They should always follow the height of this curve. How can we do that? Well, if you remember in the first node we created in this video, which is the curve line, it does have a setting for controlling where basically our line will start and where it will end. And just by changing where it will end, we will be able to change how long or how high our vertical ropes are. So what we need to tell Blender basically is that, hey, Blender, we want you also to adapt the length of these vertical lines, which is basically the length of this curve line, also based on the rope height. So how can we do such thing? It is super simple. Basically by connecting the z-axis, which control how high it is or how long these vertical ropes, we're going to connect it with the mount height, or actually the rope heights, the rope heights. So To do this, let's add a combine XYZ. Let's connect it to the end. Right now, everything is 0, but as you can see right now, I can change the Z. And I'm going to connect the Z axis to, let's see, we're going to connect it to the rope height, which is this line going right here. So probably we can take it basically, as you can see, if we follow the rope height, it is here, here. Let's drag it way, way, way down to here, and let's connect it to the Z. And probably right now everything should be looking good. Let's change the rope height. Wow, that's really good. As you can see right now, the length of all of these vertical ropes is adapting to this one. So right now, let's address the elephant in the room, which is our node tree. Control spacebar again to maximize it, and let's clean up the mess that we just did. So where should we start? First of all, I'm going to select all of these nodes and let's just bring them slightly onto the left. Okay. Let's take the joint geometry somewhere right here. Take these right here. Let's say something like so. For this one, let's put it here. And actually, let's create a rerouting node for the instance endpoints. So shift and drag over both of these and let's move it here. And there is this ugly line. So I'm going to move this here. Also, I have two curves coming out of here. So shift with the right mouse button to create a rerouting node. Let's put it somewhere here and shift to create another one. And let's do it just like you're seeing right now. Perfecto. I don't know if perfecto is actually a word. All right, so let's select all of these. Let's move them a little bit up. Let's say something like you're seeing right now. I'm trying as much as possible to make everything clean so that you don't get lost later on when you're seeing the Blender file. Let's move this slightly up. Let's move this point here. And there's two lines also coming out of this one. So let's move this combine XYZ somewhere here. And basically, actually, probably we can create a shift and do this to create another rerouting node. And for this one, let's delete this by hitting Control X. And this is getting complicated very soon. So let's do shift and add a rerouting node right here. And let's move this up. And for this one, maybe we can bring it a little bit up. Let's say something, hit Alt P to remove it from the label. Do this, let's do this, and shift to add another rerouting node here. And let's move this here. And for all of these nodes, we can probably just move them here and also this one, but it will probably have this line. So let's, okay. So right now let's select all of these different nodes, G, Y, to just move them slightly down. And let's put this here. And I think that this is more or less a little bit neater and easier to understand. And all we have to do right now is basically to select all of these different nodes. Let's hit Control G to put them inside a label, hit F2 to rename it, and let's call it vertical ropes. Hit N to open the sidebar, and under the node settings, let's bring the label size to 64 so it is super huge and visible. And these are basically our vertical ropes that are responsible creating these vertical ropes, and they are adapting to the width and also they are adapting to the rope height. And yeah, this is looking pretty neat. And I will see you in the next one where we will basically create some knots to these lines. So because this doesn't look that realistic. So yeah, see you in the next video.